Hey guys, I'm Alastair from Trail and Kale and I'm back with a brand new review. This time I'm going to be talking all about the Mount Coast S1. A bit about me then. I'm just a regular guy, a non-elite athlete who absolutely loves running. Reviewing the latest running shoes and gear. My 5K PR is 19 minutes and 50 seconds, which I'm always trying to beat. I've run countless ultra marathons around the world, and my favourite distance is the cheeky half marathon. Road or trail, I love running on them both. I'm not afraid to let you know when a running shoe is crap, but also you're definitely going to know when one blows me away. Either way, our independent running shoe reviews are always 100% honest, reliable, and hopefully you'll come away from this video having learned something new. Now, if you recently caught my Mount Coast R1 review, then you'll know I was pleasantly surprised by that shoe because it's a relatively new running shoe brand, and I know how difficult it is for new brands to make their mark in the industry. And the R1 was really good. So I was very excited when Mount Coast said they were going to send me the S1, which is their other running shoe. And I'm excited to tell you my thoughts on this shoe, which I've been running in now for the last week. What is the Mount Coast S1 designed for then? Well, it's a daily trainer for anyone who's training to run longer. Now, being an ultra running shoe, they are designed to perform better at slower paces. The S1 is designed to work really well for paces between 8 and 14 minutes per mile, or 5 to 9 minutes per kilometer. So these are very much for long distance running, so whether that's a long recovery run or just a long training run. That means they will actually be good for marathon runners who need a nice cushioned and supportive running shoe to get those training miles in. But I wouldn't recommend wearing them on race day. How do they compare to the Mount Coast R1? Well, very good question, I'm glad you asked. They are very much the training sibling of the R1. The R1 is a shoe that you would switch out to come race day. If you are planning to race a marathon very soon, then you might want to look at my best carbon-plated running shoes roundup. I'll put a link up there and also in the description down below. Those shoes, also known as super shoes, are going to be much more efficient, much faster for anyone who wants to kind of break PRs and run as fast as they can during their marathon race. Let's jump into the key statistics very quickly then, and then I'll go over my performance review. I'd like to give an oversight of the key features that I think are very important for you to know about, and give a little explainer so you know exactly what those key features do for you on your run. Firstly then, they cost $150. The R1, by the way, cost $160. I will let you know at the end of this review if I believe they're worth that price tag. How do they fit and feel? Well, they're very much true to size and they have a medium width. This was the same for the R1, except the R1 had a bit more of a roomy toe box. So if you like that feel, then I would recommend going the R1. When it comes to stability then, Mount Coast advertised these as being moderate or neutral. But actually it does have some very cool technology that does give it some stability in my opinion. I found them to be very stable on my runs. And I'll go over why in just a moment. They have a fairly high drop of 10 millimeters from heel to toe. And that's a stack height of 36 millimeters under the heel and 26 millimeters under the toe. So anyone who is kind of running those slow-paced long runs who tend to run slightly more on the heel, which is most likely if you are going to be running a slower pace, then a higher drop should be good for you. They weigh 9.3 ounces for a size US men's 9, that's my pair. And this is actually heavier than the race day R1 shoe, but not by a huge amount. The upper is using a jacquard mesh, which has a dual layer. It's kind of two layers, a softer one on the inside and a more durable version on the outside. And it is made from 100% recycled yarns, which I really like. It also has a gusseted tongue feature that creates a nice wrapping feeling around your foot as well. There's also a finger loop at the rear, which is pretty cool. I like the way it's elasticated. So you can put your finger through there and slip them on. To be honest though, it's a little tricky to get your finger in there, especially if you're wearing gloves in the winter. It'd be very difficult. But once it's in there, there's a lot of stretch. The upper is also really cushioned, plenty of cushioning in the collar areas and the heel counter at the rear. There are also reflective highlights. It is an ultra running shoe, so if you're going to be running anywhere near to 100 kilometers, you're going to be running in low light conditions at some point, most likely through the night. And the fact it's a road running shoe, you need to be visible for safety reasons. The midsole is using light cell foam technology, which is exactly the same technology being used in the R1. And that's a PEBA-based nitrogen-infused supercritical foam. So it's very responsive, but it also has a nice amount of cushioning as well. And just like the R1 as well, it is using GoFlow technology, which basically in layman's terms, all that means is they've got varying types of foams within the shoe to give you support, but also more energy return where you need it, and extended life in that energy return. So you get more spring and bounce over time. You see this white section here, that's not actually the GoFlow, that's just a depiction of what's going on inside the midsole above it. So it's got a different type of foam in that S-shape area called zero sag. And what that does is give you more energy return over time. So it's less likely to wear down quickly as, say, the rest of the foams within the shoe. And that's placed exactly where you need it to give you more stability, kind of on the inside of the forefoot, where you're most likely to put more pressure. So you need to have a longer lasting foam in that area. So it's nice how they've done that. The outsole then, pretty good traction on it. It's very flexible. Very easy to flex this shoe, which means your stride's going to feel very natural. You're not going to be struggling to push against a stiff shoe. And you can see there are kind of break lines in this outsole. That really helps with the flex. Well, congrats, you made it to my performance review. Let's start with how they feel when you first put them on then. They're super comfortable. I really like how they feel. The drop doesn't actually feel too high to me. I'm not generally a fan of high drops because I do like to run more on my forefoot or on my toe because I prefer to run faster. Yes, I do some ultra marathon training, but even then I like to run on my forefoot. It just feels a bit more natural to me. So I like that the 10mm drop, that is a high drop, doesn't actually feel that high. So anyone who fears the high drop will be pleased to hear that. But anyone who enjoys having a high drop because they like to heel strike when they run, you'll be pleased to know that there is a nice amount of cushioning on there and it does feel nice. Also, the collars and the heel counters, it's so soft, so smooth, and the fit is just so easy to get nice and snug. And I attribute that to a nice traditional lacing system. If you watched my R1 review, that's an interesting running shoe because it has a dual lacing system, which I wasn't a fan of. A lot of people seem to like that. And yeah, I get it. It creates a really nice fit. But for me, it just felt a bit clunky and feels like it takes a little bit too long to actually get that fit. And I actually have that shoe here somewhere, just down here. Here you go. So you can actually see this dual lacing system. This is the two shoes side by side. You can see the R1, clearly wider platform, making it a more stable running shoe. But definitely go watch that review if you're looking for an ultra road race day shoe. But back to the S1. It feels just as comfortable as the R1 and a little bit more nimble, which is weird because it is a heavier running shoe. But it just feels less bulky. I guess that's because there's less width in the shoe. So they're super comfortable. I love how flexible they are on the run. I did mention earlier that that outsole does allow for a good amount of flex. And also certainly the midsole is helping there too. It's got that strategically placed zero sag foam within the midsole. And that's right about where it's flexing. So I'm sure that has a lot to do with it as well. So it's an absolute pleasure to run in. Anyone who wants to do their daily training runs and they want a shoe that's going to be good for that, but also very good for getting recovery miles in. So I like to run on trails, roads, I like to do short distance runs, I like to run ultra marathons, I like to do every kind of run possible. So it's actually nice to have a shoe that allows you to recover from, say, intense interval training efforts or intense tempo long runs. You need a shoe that kind of fits between the intense training runs. And by the way, if you are in training for a race, whether it's a 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon, or ultra marathon, definitely head over to our training plan section on our website. There are so many training plans on there. We've developed them ourselves, and I've actually gone out and tested all these just to make sure that they fit with a nice acute load that's increasing and then dips just before race day. They work really well. Like I said, I've tested them out before, so I can actually speak to my own experience about how well they work. So if you are planning to race, you need a training plan, head over there next. They've even got this heel cage section here, which is actually quite hard to see. But if I shine a light over it, you can see this little section here, which is actually more solid than the midsole foam. And what that does is stop your heel from pronating, going inwards. It gives your foot more structure and it protects your gait to ensure you don't get too much wobble when you're running. And that's very important if you are going to be running long distances. Now, if you are running in hot temperatures, like I am in Northern California right now, you will likely notice that they're not the most breathable running shoes. So if you live somewhere super hot, these might not be for you. I found the R1 to be more breathable. I'm not entirely sure why. I guess the jacquard mesh must be slightly different on that shoe, or a slightly wider weave to let more airflow in. And it does actually look like that. So either way, this one just isn't as breathable, and I do find my feet heating up when I'm running in these. That said, if you're running in these shoes in colder temperatures or on shoulder seasons where it's not too hot, then you'll appreciate the fact that there's not quite as much durability if you do want to keep your feet nice and warm. Is the Mount to Coast S1 worth the money then? Well, yes, for $150, I'm going to say it is. It's a fantastic shoe. It's got a good amount of stability in there, incredible cushioning and response, perfect for those nice, easy runs over long distances. So if you need a recovery run shoe or just a daily trainer where you want to get a nice jog in, these shoes should last a long time. It's definitely got a very durable midsole. Traction seems very good. It's got some nice gullies in there as well, which I didn't mention, which should make it very good for running in the wet as well. And that means you won't get any kind of aquaplaning. So yes, $150, definitely recommend you buy them. If you want to look for an alternative running shoe to this, just let me know in the comments down below. Let me know the type of running that you like to do, circumstances that you have, and I'll get you hooked up with the best running shoe for you. That's my promise to you. Well, thanks for watching this Mount to Coast S1 review. If you did enjoy it, please give the video a like. That really helps our channel. And subscribe to our channel for more running shoe reviews just like this one. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. That'll notify you as soon as new videos drop. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.